We're going to talk about a very different kind of project than we've heard about so far this morning. Young Lives is a research project based at the University of Oxford. We're working in 4 countries, looking at following the lives of 12,000 children over 15 years in the time frame of the Millennium Development Goals. I'm going to start off with a brief overview of the project, what we're trying to do, our aims and objectives, and then I'll hand over to Anne, who's our data manager, and she'll talk a bit more about the scope and scope of our data and the availability of our data, and some of the challenges we have in data gathering in developing countries. As I said before, we're a small research project based at a university, very, very different from the kinds of big international projects we've heard about so far. We're not connected into government statistics organisations. We work through small research institutes in our study countries, and that's one of the opportunities of the project, but also actually one of the challenges. Can we go to the next slide, Anne? What we're going to do is we're going to start off showing you a data visualisation project we're working on. We've heard about data visualisation so far. It's there, Anne.
Yeah.
I need to go straight to the website. Okay. Several people have mentioned data visualisation so far this morning, and we've been talking really about visualisation of tables and graphs and that kind of thing. We've done something a little bit more quirky. We've created a virtual village, which has been extremely popular with our audiences of policymakers and development practitioners. The reason we did it was because we wanted to bring our statistics. We're talking about children's lives, children living in poverty, and we wanted to bring the children into the heart of our communications work and the heart of our policy making. What the village does is it shows different indicators. We chose 12 indicators, all of which have an impact on children living in poverty. Sorry, we're struggling here.
It's loading. Yeah, let's try it again.
And the point is that any one of those indicators, tipping in a particular way or another, can have a huge impact on the way on children's lives in poverty. So it's about the interconnectedness and the multidimensionality of childhood poverty, and that's what we're trying to convey with the village.
Which is loading, but not loading. So
we had it up earlier.
There we go.
There we go. Okay, and we can visit the village and walk around the village. And we have a village in Ethiopia, we have one in India, one in Peru, and one in Vietnam, which are the 4 countries we work in. And for example, we can start off, we can visit the school, and then our data about education in the different countries will come up. We've got it's fairly basic data we've got here at the moment, and it's a cross-section. It's taken from our 2nd round of data, which we archived with ESDS earlier this year. We're currently in the field and carrying out our 3rd round of data collection, and that will be archived in about 15 months' time, I expect. I'll go into a bit more detail about the content of the data in a minute. But as you walk around the village, we can look at people's livelihoods. We can visit people who are working in the fields or in the marketplace. We can visit the hospital and get some indicators about children's health. And also what's interesting and is unique to Young Lives is we're not just collecting quantitative data, we're doing an in-depth qualitative study of a subsample of the children. So with these children, we spend several days with each child, only 100 children in each country, but we spend several days with them and go into a great deal of information with their parents, with their children, with their peers, and with their teachers. And from these, we've written these small stories, only of a few of the children, but over time, we will make these longitudinal, so we'll be able to tell these children's stories over time. And this is reflected in the village as well. This, as I said, is the first stage of our data visualisation project, and Anne will talk a little bit more about the next stages next. That's a brief overview of the data. In terms of the project structure, we're working in 4 countries, as I said, and we're working through national research organisations. So it's our teams who are locally based who are responsible for the data collection, the data cleaning, and some of the analysis, working with us in Oxford. And they're a mixture of organisations. Some are research organisations based in universities, others are based within government, or some are independent, non-governmental organisations. And we also work closely with Save the Children UK, which is our main policy partner. What we do is we've got three main elements to the study. We have the quantitative survey. We're going into the field every 3 years to revisit the children and their households with an in-depth survey of the household and household economic circumstances, the children's education, a whole range of data. We're doing that in each country with 3,000 children in 20 sites. We had a purposive sampling strategy for the sites. So the sites were chosen on specific reasons to have a pro-poor sample, but then within the sites we have a random sampling within the sites of two age cohorts. One group of children who were born in about 1994-95, so when we started they were aged 7 to 8, and we're following them through to when they're 21, 22, and they may well have children themselves, so we'll be following 3 generations. The younger children were born in 2000, 2001, so in the millennium cohort. That's a larger cohort. We have 2,000 of each of those in each country, and we're following them through to the age of 15. So we have information about their parents and the children, and conceivably a third generation as well. We have archived already rounds 1 and 2 of the data, archived with the SDS, and we're currently in the field collecting the third round of data. Connected to that, and in the years intervening, the main survey, we did a qualitative subsample. That's in 4 sites in each country with 50 children, again, both cohorts, and we've already carried out 2 rounds of data collection of that. The data archiving of that is quite a challenge because, of course, we have a duty to the children to protect their confidentiality. They're sharing a tremendous amount of personal information with us, and so we have an ethical agreement with them to protect their anonymity. And so the archiving of the qualitative data is quite a challenge, which we're working on together at the moment. But that will make it quite a unique study. Once we can combine those 2 sets of data together, there's very interesting analysis we can do. And then linked to that finally is, of course, policy analysis. We're particularly looking at particular government programmes and looking at the impact of those on children who are participating in the programmes and children who are not covered by the programmes. So, for instance, the Ethiopian government's pay for work schemes, some of the children in our sample are covered by that and some not. And we're looking at the different outcomes of the children according to that. And as I said before, it's all underpinned by in-country teams who are responsible for the data management, the data collection and the archiving. What makes Young Lives different is that the richness of the data set. And what the kind of analysis we're able to do is the richness of the data set and the longitudinal nature of the study. There are many studies of childhood poverty, but they're often on health or on education or on certain aspects, or they're a snapshot in time. And the difference about Young Lives is because it's a longitudinal and panel study, we can look particularly at the dynamics of poverty, particularly things like intergenerational transmission of poverty, and how families move in and out of poverty. And particularly what's very important for policymakers is the intra-household dynamics. Many household studies don't actually look at how poverty affects different children, so the oldest child or the youngest child, and boys and girls within a household, and that's the kind of analysis we can do from our data.